Good evening, everyone. I'm Dave, and I'm super grateful to be here and very impressed by the turnout on yet another rainy night on our beautiful coastline here. We're going to jump straight into things. I do feel like Damo's movie just then, another Damien Gammo. We actually live with the Gammo family all together on the land that we're on, and see the incredible amount of work that he put into that short piece there over the last few years. And at the moment, he's travelling around the country for 3 months away from his beautiful little family, showing at halls all over the country and getting an incredible perspective on what's happening here, and that a lot of what you saw in that dreaming piece, dreaming of what our future could look and feel like here, he's seeing it actually happening around the country. He's talking, today we were just talking about how in a survey of 40,000 farmers around the country, it's like 9,000 plus farmers are using organic regenerative agricultural practices. That's a quarter already of the country's growers doing that. And so he's travelling and finding that there are so many little halls like this that are filled with people who are busy, getting busy. And it's very encouraging. And I think Drew mentioned it in the previous panel about the representation of things that are happening in this country and the actual things that are happening in this country. And it's really important that we have these type of gatherings. They might be small, but they're very potent, they're very powerful, and it's wonderful that we have 4 people here to continue those insights and to look a little deeper at some of the solutions and the courses of action we can take right now, because we all know shit's hitting the fan, and it's just about getting busy and doing what we can with the skills and the access we have to solutions. So, sitting on my left, we have Charlotte, Damo, Tom, and Tim. And I'll do a poor job of introducing everyone, so I would rather you speak about the work you do and who you are, the work you do, and then we'll dive into a bit more. So, Charlotte, would you like to start for us,
Yeah,
please?
Thank you so much, Dave, and I hope you can all hear me okay. I work for I've worked in sustainability a long time in the not-for-profit space, and now I work for a climate tech community. And you're probably going, what's climate tech? So we look at climate tech as technology used to scale climate solutions. That can be software, so it can be, a fintech company that crunches data and can calculate scope 3 emissions, or it can also be, one of our companies develops a cling wrap plastic alternative made out of potato waste, great wrap. So that's a hardware product. So I'm in a very privileged position because I get to see these incredible climate tech solutions that are kind of playing out in that film. It's not hypothetical to me because I see them. We actually don't even need more solutions, we have them. But what we do need is to mobilise finance towards them, to get them customers and to get them to scale to their global potential. And what's incredibly exciting about this climate tech space I work in, it's filled with a lot of people who are passionate about saving this precious planet of ours, but it's also filled with people who are just super aroused by the economic opportunity it presents. We need both kinds of people on board. Investment is flowing into climate tech 5 times faster than any other startup sector. Larry Fink, the CEO of BlackRock, the world's largest wealth management fund, said the next 1,000 unicorns, and unicorns are startups valued at $1 billion, will be in climate tech. So that's exciting. It's like, this is a time to jump on board, not just because you care about the planet, but those who, maybe just only driven by money. You're solving customer problems, but you're also solving the biggest challenge of our time. So I'm incredibly excited about the opportunity that we have to scale solutions for our planet.
Wonderful. Thanks, Charlotte, and good on you. And Damien Cole.
Thanks everyone for coming along tonight. It's great to see such a packed out house. So I guess my story actually started a little bit differently. I grew up as, I guess, with environmental parents. My dad actually helped start Surfrider Foundation Europe, and I went to my first rally when I was 6 years old to stop the nuclear testing that was going on in the Pacific, and that was in France. And then fast forward into my 20s, and I guess as a lot of people do, and I'm sure you can all relate, that in your 20s you're kind of, you're pretty selfish, let's be honest. It's all about kind of you and learning and you wanting to go out and surf around the world. And so that's what I did, and the way that I facilitated that, I actually started in the fossil fuel industry. So I was living in Western Australia. I started in the mines when I was 22 years old, and spent most of my 20s just kind of in and out of Australia, going to the mines, working in a lot of gas refineries. Ended up working offshore, building pipelines under the ocean. I was up on the boat though. And that was pretty much my entire kind of 20s. And then it's an interesting thing because I knew deep down I've always considered myself somebody who really cares for the ocean and cares for our planet, and as being an environmentalist, I guess. And I got to the late 20s and I used to keep telling myself, but you're just one person. And if this is a really easy way of making money. I don't have a university degree. I can just keep going to the mines and I'll make my money and facilitate my lifestyle. And then I got to a point when going, well, what change could I make anyway? Being one person. And I guess I got to my late 20s, and I was earning the most money I'd ever earned in my life. I was, some of the crew that I was working with did the maths. Apparently it was about $1,500 a day. So a huge amount of money. But I found myself so kind of like just having a destroyed soul for that. Every time I'd walk onto that boat, and it was for 3 weeks, and then I'd have 3 weeks off, and then I'd go away overseas, and I'd be trying to make up for the 3 weeks that I just hated, and it just was grinding away at me. And I got to a point where I just said to all my workmates, I remember sitting there in all my work gear, and I was like, guys, I can't keep doing this. And they were kind of laughed and went, what are you going to do? And I said, I'm going to go try and help save the planet. And and it was really this thing of kind of joking, but also I was like, well, no, actually, I kind of am serious. And then I went, I'm going to go do an environmental science degree. And it's pretty embarrassing to say, but I had no idea what environmental science was, to be honest. I just knew that it was something about environment that I could sink my teeth into and get moving. So I quit my job and I went to Victoria and I started studying environmental science, and that was in my late 20s. And then through there, I joined community groups, and through those community groups, I ended up, in the whole midst of the fight for the bite, and we just decided to do these paddle outs, and the paddle outs just took off. And so it was kind of a crazy time, and I was also running in the last federal election at the exact same time, so pretty hectic. But then fast forward a little bit, what the biggest thing there during the fight for the bite, the only thing that people that were naysayers that wanted to have a crack at us was saying was, you're a hypocrite because you're paddling out on oil-based surfboards, and you're a hypocrite because you drove down to this paddle out. And it was completely against, it wasn't the point of the paddle outs, because it's not about every single one of us here has an impact on this planet, and we need to actually acknowledge that, because none of us are perfect. And I think that that's one thing that, conservatives and things will try and have a crack at you and say, you're part of the problem, so shut up and sit down. And I felt there was a lot of that. And instead of doing that, I thought, no, you know what? Not into that at all. And I thought, why aren't there any surfboards out there that are made in a different way? Why have we been making surfboards the exact same way for the last 60 years? And no one's really taken on this trying to reduce our impact. So we created Varuna, which is a sustainable surfboard company. We don't use foam anymore. We use wood, and we use every single aspect of our company. We have a planet first mindset. And then, fast forward, a couple of years. I've been working for Surfrider Foundation for a couple of years now, and just kind of juggling both of those. So, here I am today.
Thanks, Damo.
It's a great story. Much better story.
Tom.
Firstly, thank you all guys for having me tonight. My name's Tom Stapleton. I'm one of the co-founders of Make Your Mark Super, and we are a new sustainable super fund that invests for the good of the community and the planet. And we're looking to change the way we all interact with super, and that's by bringing it to life. And what I mean by that is we're looking to show you exactly where your money's going, but also the why. And the exciting part of that is we're actually showing the actual impact your money is making, which is a really exciting space to be in because this has never happened before in the superannuation space.
I'm looking forward to diving into that with you. Thanks, Tom.
That's cool.
And Tim?
Yeah, I won't go full Damo autobiography, and I won't go short like Tom. I'll try and get something in the middle. So I'm one of the co-founders of Take 3 for the Sea and spent, the best part of my working career to date trying to build a grassroots charity and organisation. So first words, I guess, are props to the whole Surfers for Climate crew and Surfrider and all the local groups because it's bloody hard work building up a non-profit and sustaining it and obviously getting the outcomes and the objectives that you set yourself. But a few years ago, I pivoted, so I actually left Take 3 for the Sea 2 years ago. And interestingly, to Charlotte's work at the moment, I'm now in ocean tech and trying to drive capital investment into technologies that can transform the way that we treat the ocean. I suppose that just sort of comes from this decade, 12 odd years of building Take 3 for the Sea, and so moved by the power of people responding to that call to arms and wanting to do something, but then feeling very quickly like you could build that bedrock, that beautiful foundation of people that cared, but then there was this bloody big ceiling immediately above them. And that ceiling is, I guess, the inaction that we get from government, and it's inaction from the current status of capitalism. But then fast forward to a future, like you look with Regenerating Australia and the work that organisations like Climate Salad are doing, an ocean impact organisation, it's saying, stuff that, let's dismantle that, let's seed that entire bedrock with new solutions that can overtake the old days. The way that we treat Australia at the moment and our laggard status globally is just because those industries, they sustain so much of the country, but they're archaic. And the people at the top don't want to try and deconstruct those industries because it's too easy the way it currently is. So it's going to take people like us and people like you to believe that we can actually bring in those transformative solutions to overtake it. So yeah, I'm really pumped about this new vision that me and my co-founder and our whole team have with Ocean Impact Organisation. And we've only been around for 2 years and we've already got results on the board. We're doing some really great stuff. And that starts because there's people all around the world who are young people like I was, going and doing uni and going, yeah, I want to make a difference, but I don't know which path to take. They're now being those entrepreneurs. They're looking out to the leaders and they're saying, I can actually be that one to transform these solutions. So that comes down to founders and startups and people like Damo with Varuna who are actually saying, hey, I think I've got something. Can you guys help me make it big? And we're like, hell yeah, we can. So it's good times.
Might have a chat with you, mate.
Great. I really appreciate what you're saying there, Tim. And it sounds to me like like we are at a point where we really need to focus on what we're saying yes to as much as what we're saying no to, and that we're in a period in time where we've gone through, perhaps it was the late 90s, early 2000s when we had the great expose documentary happening, the movement of The 11th Hour, The Inconvenient Truth, The Cove, lots of films that were exposing situations that needed to be exposed. And we're not really in as much of a position like that anymore. We're more in this position we're in now, where we're living through very radical times, where we're living through systems collapsing, social and ecological systems, and we need to know what to do next about that. And so I wanted to come back to you, Charlotte, with Climate Salad and how people can participate. So what is it how do you hold out your hand and say, come with us, let's do this? How can someone here, if it's not you, someone you know, do that and walk with you on that adventure that you're offering to people?
Yeah, and that's a really great question. And I also work with Fish Burners as a sustainability expert of residence there, and they're Australia's largest startup community. I get that a lot. People, the great resignation. I want to quit my job. I actually already have. I want to work in this space. What can I do? What startup can I find? find as a founder. And my advice is don't leave your job just yet. Lean into the skills you have. Within our climate tech community, we did just a really quick snapshot of, how many hires are you going to make in the next 12 months? And on average, each member will make around 22.5 hires in the climate tech space. And if you bad maths, like extrapolate out that data, that's 5,000 jobs in climate tech in Australia that weren't around a few months ago. So they are going to need your skills. They're going to need good storytellers, good salespeople. They're going to need good software engineers. Whatever skills you have, everybody in this room will have amazing skills behind them. Don't change what you're doing, but maybe lean into what you do have and lend a hand or get a great job in this community. They're struggling to get people. So this is, what you do in the startup space, it's the net creator of jobs. But what else is I really want to touch on too is I'm really proud of the startup space in Australia, particularly in the climate and ocean and this for-purpose space. Because globally, climate tech founders, only 9.5% of them are women. But within our community, it's 45%. Yeah.
Wow.
Woo! And they're tomorrow's leaders. Actually, they're today's leaders. But we don't want to leave anyone behind. And we know that women are more adversely affected by climate change. And I know this is, in the very tiny experience I've had of being affected by climate change on the Sunshine Coast when we flooded and schools were closed. Like, I experienced that because, there's gender stereotypes and you inherently take on the looking after kids when school is closed role while trying to also juggle a job. And that's a tiny bit of adverse effect that I had. But yeah, I just, have the skills you have and maybe just have a look at these emerging climate tech companies that are rapidly evolving and need your skills. So don't quit your job just yet. But maybe, think of those solutions too and surround yourself with great mentors that, happy to connect you. That's what I do.
Fantastic. Tom, I actually thought of you next with this because if you're going to stay working and you're getting your check regularly and it's going out to the bills and the food and the rent and whatever else, and then your employer's putting some super away for you. Can you enlighten us a little? What is that world like right now? Where is that money of ours being spent by somebody else or used by somebody else? I
can give a very comprehensive answer there. So it can, superannuation, you have to really think about it as being this pool of money that's invested on your behalf, and it can be invested in good industries that positively impact the planet, like renewable energy or health or education or innovation. But unfortunately, for so long, it's been invested in industries that negatively impact the planet, like the fossil fuel industry, like tobacco, like weapons. And unfortunately, if you're one of these people that's never made a choice on your super, it's likely that you could still be invested in fossil fuels. But for me, I guess I'm happy to share the empowering story that everyone has a choice on their super, and you do not have to be invested in fossil fuels. And by making a choice, and that means by switching your super away from the fossil fuel industry, it can take between, 2 to 3 minutes, and it can be the largest impact you make on the planet.
And how do we do that with you? Because I know you have a group that helps people.
Yeah, so I don't want to do a full pitch.
Go on, just do it, man. Just do it.
Plug.
Do it. Plug hard, mate. Plug hard.
We haven't launched yet. We're launching next month. And if you want to register your interest, you can just jump on, type in your email address. And when we launch, we'll reach out and say, hey, the doors are open. You're welcome to come across and make a positive impact with your money.
And that is Make Your Mark Super?
Make Your Mark Super.
Yep.
.com.au.
Fantastic. And is this something that you feel will you be, bringing along the surfing world with your journey with Make Your Mark? Is this something you really want to make sure that coastal communities and, of course, everyone everywhere, but are you feeling like you're zooming in on the coastal communities with this?
Oh, for sure. On a personal level, I'm a surfer and I love the ocean, and that's why I do what I do. That's why I stepped into sustainability, because I want to, preserve the oceans for generations to come. So we're super inclusive, whether you're a surfer or you could be a politician or a banker. We're not politically affiliated. We believe that everyone has a role to play in climate action, and we all have a powerful role, when we spend our money. It applies to everyone, right? So everyone in this room has a powerful role to play in climate action.
Fantastic. What a great course of action for us all to take immediately. Tim, I'm curious, we met many, many moons ago when, with Howie over here, we were doing a kayaking trip from Byron to Sydney, and we bumped into you at Point Plummer when we were sleeping on the beach, and you were all fired up to get your hands dirty and do this kind of work, and here we are, this is like 12 years later. And you touched on the Take 3 work, and now with Ocean Impact. Can you give us an insight into perhaps a project or a couple projects right now that you're working on that have those fires still burning brightly that some of us may be able to participate in even?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, thanks for bringing that up, Dave, because what was really, for me, that was literally the universe sent me a little sign that night camping out at Point Plummer, and it was Dave and his ragtag bunch of activists with Howie and Chris and Hilton, and oh man, like I literally walked away just going, what the hell just happened? Like I'd been traveling around India and surfing and snowboarding around the world, seeing all these problems, but feeling like I do not know how to do something about this burning fire inside me. And I reckon it was just Dave just going, just do something, man. And I was just like, easy for you to say.
It's very complicated advice.
Yeah. And so I did something. So by the time the Transparency Voyage made it to my local community, which was the Central Coast, I got up on stage at Avoca Beach Picture Theatre and said, I've got an idea, let's clean our beaches, because Dave was doing the beach cleanups with Tangaroa Blue. And from that in the audience was the next door neighbour of Mandy, who's the other co-founder of Take 3 for the Sea. And so it just happened. So how good's that? Like, it's just,
that's great.
Could happen here.
But in terms of what's obviously specifically with OIO, with Ocean Impact, we are quite unabashed about the fact that success for this organisation is seeing millions, like tens and hundreds of millions of dollars shift into these enterprises that can change the way we treat the ocean. Like they can change the way we consume seafood. They can decarbonise shipping. They can create renewable energies. Like if we succeed, along with all the other organisations that are working on climate tech or ocean tech, it's astronomical amounts of money moving into these businesses that I would never have imagined myself working on as an environmentalist. So we're kind of still just at that start of the journey, but we have just raised our first investment fund. We're investing in 8 startups that'll be announced in the next 2 weeks. So we run a program, a 7-month accelerator program for these startups to basically take them from here to here and then, release them into the world to raise more capital and do great things. Or they might fail, and that's okay. If you're going to fail fast, because you're probably going to be the person with the next great idea that might be the one that succeeds. But we also run programs for, scientists. One of the big problems in Australia, we've got this incredible network of marine institutions. Hannah Beth here is an incredible marine scientist. They've got all these institutions that do great ocean science. We understand and we explore, but we've never really considered this commercialisation piece. And it sort of goes back again to what I was saying before. All the money and the capital just goes back into these old archaic industries. So let's sort of shift that balance and focus on those emerging entrepreneurs out there. So we run a whole bunch of programs. Just follow Ocean Impact Organisation and you get a bit of a feel for what it is that we're working on.
Are you a newsletter group? Are you doing things semi-regularly that people could sign up for to stay on the pulse?
Yep, that and podcasts, social media, the works. You've got to be, unfortunately, on all those channels now if you're going to be building your tribe.
I'm curious about that. I'm not in that space. I don't have social media or anything, but Lauren does, and she uses it really well, and in tuning in and asking questions of the community that we are a part of. How are you going with presenting what it is that you're obviously very lit up about to people? How are people responding? What is the atmosphere out there? Maybe with you, Damo, how are you feeling? We can start with you about the work you're doing. The story that you have around it is very clear. What's the climate like out there socially?
It's been really, really positive. Quite blown away actually by really, we've been doing a few demo days. We did one just this afternoon, and weather wasn't great. Surf was okay, and we were kind of all right, we'll see who rocks up, and then we just had dozens of people come down. All the boards are out in the water. We've got people, we've got shapers from all over the world contacting us saying, love what you're doing. Oh, this is amazing. We've been looking for this. We actually thought that shapers were going to be the hardest ones to kind of get, knowing that my father's a shaper as well, and knowing how hard they are to deal with at times. But they were some of the most open people because they've been working in such a toxic industry. I mean, if you look at the surfboard industry overall, the surfing industry, wetsuits are toxic, surfboards are toxic, tail pads are toxic, leg ropes, sunscreen, wax, sunglasses, all of our clothing, every time we travel. We consider ourselves as connected with the ocean, which we are definitely, but we've definitely kind of dropped the ball in terms of how that's reflected in with the products that we actually use and the way that we hold ourselves to account. And I think that there haven't been those solutions yet, and they are coming through. I know Patagonia is doing amazing stuff with Ulex, and there are companies out there all over the world starting to do it. And for us as a small startup, seeing the kind of the surfing community come to us with open arms going, this is what we've been looking for, has really been inspiring. And as I say, the shapers have been some of the biggest ones because they know what they're doing, and that what they're creating is, it's beautiful, scientific art pieces, but it's a toxic industry. And if we can, and as Tim was talking about, if we can change that paradigm and change how we think about surfboards and surfing and how we go about our daily lives, then that's how we will make that change. And it's about supporting all of us, each other, as individuals, as organisations, as companies, as NGOs. This entire kind of, whether it's just climate change, I look at it as a systems collapse, as you say. We can't keep looking to companies or looking to governments, or everyone then goes, no, it's up to the individual. It has to be a top to bottom, bottom to top, left to right, right to left, inside to out. Every single person and organisation on the face of this planet has a responsibility to make sure that we have a future generation for these kids here who are sitting here tonight. So that's it, yeah.
Wonderfully put. We just came back from Noosa, where we were with Tom Wegner, who's now on the council in Noosa, working to support a lot of different initiatives up there that are really great. Specifically, he's working on a regenerative organic agricultural hub, like a really strong network of people up there for growers. And one of the things he said while we were there that really struck me was community groups, how important it is to have community groups and community members stepping forward and participating. And so when we think of that, and we think of the financial world, the corporate world, what community is there? Like, who are you linking with, Charlotte and Tom, when you're hoping to get these wheels turning fast and going far?
Yeah, I mean, when Tim was talking about that, we need that finance, like in the climate tech community of Climate Salad, we've got over 60 investors from venture capitalists, family offices, angels, and it represents $2.5 billion conservatively ready to deploy funds into the climate tech space. So we're talking to the big end of town too. So we have the big energy incumbents who are also, they understand that it's a sunset industry. So, the big three, they're coal-fired power plants are shutting down years ahead of schedule because it doesn't make economic sense for it to be there anymore. So you have all these, they're coming on board and they're trying to invest and acquire new climate solutions because they know that this is, like Tim alluded to, it's going to fade into antiquity. And I think about the digital boom of the late 90s, 2000, early thousands, where it was that kind of exposure era too of like documentary, and we had to sort of learn about it. But that was the digital revolution. We're in the climate tech, we're in the climate solution revolution right now. I've been working in sustainability a long time, and we had to dress it up as other things. It wasn't like, this is good for sustainability. It's like, oh no, it's like it engenders trust in your brand, or it's a social license to operate. And now it's like, no, customers want it, shareholders are demanding it, politicians are finally talking about it. So your question, like who, the big end of town, the big corporates, so investment firms, they're all raising funds, impact investing funds, climate tech funds, funds into ocean impact in the blue economy space. The corporate space, you look at the Science-Based Targets Initiative, so that's what businesses sign up to demonstrate and make commitments to reducing their emissions. That has grown 65% per year, every year since 2015. And now the businesses that are committed to science-based targets to reduce their emissions represents 30% of the global GDP. So it's not insignificant. Money's talking and it's talking about investing in this space.
And is this really overt? This could be because I'm a Neanderthal with my head in the garden or in the ocean. I'm not on social media. I'm not looking at all of the news stories that are floating around. Is this common knowledge? Is this very overt, what you're talking about right now?
70% of the media is owned by Murdoch, so probably not. Sorry, but it's not. No, it's probably because of the work that I'm operating in that I know this. But,
is that why you're here tonight?
Yeah,
because it's hard to get this circulating. Is it hard to tell these stories publicly and overtly?
I mean, and I'm sorry if I'm boring you, but I thought, we're represented here by these amazing community organisers and the work that you do, and I thought maybe I can just help bring the business element to it. So if we feel failed by our government, because we have been, don't despair because the business community is moving. And it's like we're standing on this. Like in 2002, I think it was, the founders of Netflix offered to sell to Blockbuster for $50 million, and they got laughed out of the room. We're at the same stage here.
Block who?
Yeah, exactly. Block who? And I feel like that about the fossil fuels. It's like this is the Blockbuster moment, guys. Mike Cannon-Brookes made you a really good offer. Now he's the majority shareholder of AGL. You can fade into antiquity, or you can just stop doing what you've always been doing that's not even making economic sense anymore.
Very well said. Wonderful.
So, I don't know.
Thoughts, Tom?
I think you covered a lot of what I was going to go into there. But I'll give a different angle. So, in the superannuation space, corporates have a big influence on climate, but it's actually about the members and you guys, right? Everyone here has got a superannuation. So when we say who's responsible for climate action, we can focus on the corporates, but we should actually be focusing on ourselves and what we can do. And as individuals, we have a huge role to play when it comes to climate action. And it all starts with where we spend our money, unfortunately. And we can actually do so many great things with it. We can, support local business. We can support sustainable brands. We can move our super away from fossil fuels. We can even have a bank that doesn't fund coal, oil, gas projects in Australia. Or even we can have an electricity provider that doesn't own a coal power station. So, my answer is, control the controllables, and for us individuals, we have a huge role to play in climate action.
Wonderful. I think we're getting close to our time, but I'd like to ask each of you for kind of a parting thought, a parting sort of gesture of reaching out your hand for people to participate in the amazing work that you're all doing. Maybe we'll start at that end with you, Tim.
Yeah, look, if what I've been talking about tonight seems of interest, I mean, a lot of the stuff that we're talking about, me and Charlotte might feel a little bit like a million miles away, but, you know, you might be interacting with it, you know, occasionally, and you don't even know it yet. So, yeah, if you check us out, but obviously a couple of weeks away, you know, election, just remember the state that we're in, remember the sphere of influence you have. The way we thought and acted a decade or 20 years ago needs to be different to what we're thinking right now in 2022 because we're in a bit of a state. So that's my parting words. Thanks.
All I'll say is, the election is one part of climate action we can all take, but if there's a takeaway tonight is just make sure you vote with your money every single day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well said.
Buy one of our surfboards. But yeah, seriously. I think for me, the big one is, and again, I really want to thank you so much for coming here on tonight, and really want to hear us out. And we've had such a great, diverse panel talking about different solutions and talking about resilience. And I've kind of gone back to, you touched on before, the importance of community and community groups, and that's how I got my start. And and it really, to me, when I look at this again, the state of the planet, I look at the fact that saving this planet is, and your role in it. This is not a spectator sport. You cannot sit on the sidelines, and whatever that looks like to you, whatever that feels like to you when I say that, that's your choice. Whether it's voting, whether it's changing super, joining, organisations, a startup, but just, as you simply put, do something. You have to. We have to, because we are running out of time, and we are watching, as we've seen with floods, with fires, we've seen it all over the world, systems are collapsing, and I'm not here to think of that, to really drive home the negativity, because the great thing is there is so much incredible work going on out there. And I think the way for you to get inspired is to get involved and do that. And for me, it was joining community groups and realising that I wasn't the only one feeling like this. And that when you do join those community groups, and I want to back the Clarence Catchment Alliance, they're in your community and they are saving your community. So get involved in that. And again, with the dollar and everything, that to me is another huge one. And also I want to, for the kids who are still here, I'm really amazed that you're sitting here watching us, and I can hear your intent. You asked me so many good questions down the beach before about the boards and everything, and we see so many young people as well stepping up. And I do want to single out Patcha Light, who's here, a 21-year-old who has been in the environmental game for years. But the only reason that she's been in that environmental game is because she's had such an amazing mentor in her mother. So it's the generational thing as well. So it's amazing to see people of all different ages here, and it's never too late. And I do, and same with having Nat and Wayne here and having those elders. But again, it goes back to every single one of us has to play a role in this. So if that's any takeaway, then just get involved. And as a famous philosopher, Mr. Dave Rastovich once said, just do something.
Couldn't he have gone last? Look, I actually really want to just say thank you so much for being here. Like I do hear that a lot. Like I just want to do more. I'm not sure where to start. Use your sphere of influence. Lean into the skills you have, but don't be afraid to have the conversations with people who don't necessarily agree with you. We're all motivated by different things, and that's what makes this planet a beautiful place to live in. But we're all on the same page here, but we need to get those that aren't on the same journey to get to the outcome where we have a precious and beautiful planet to live on. So, maybe have those conversations with the people that you might not necessarily usually have conversations with. Lean into that. So I don't know, maybe not online because there's a lot of trolling that happens, but maybe in person is better, okay? Like in person, just use that sphere of influence and have those conversations, even if they're difficult.
Wonderful. Thanks, Charlotte. Well, just, we'll continue on the applause for the group. Thank you all for your time. and your beautiful community here. I think there's another film playing. Yeah. So there's more to be seen and enjoyed.
Aren't you in that, Nat? The next one?
Passing you over then.
Thanks, Dave.
Awesome. Thank you.